We continued eating and talking for some time. The shop was now full of customers. People were sitting at almost every table. The sound of cups and plates filled the small shop. Even though the shop was busy, it still felt comfortable. Suddenly Arjun looked at his phone again. His expression became serious for a moment. I noticed the change and asked, "Is everything all right?" Arjun looked at me and nodded. He said, "Yes, I just received a message from school." I became curious and asked, "What does the message say?" Arjun showed me the screen of his phone. The message was about an important school activity. It was going to take place the next morning. Arjun said we have to prepare something for the activity. I looked at the message carefully. Then I said, "We should start preparing today." Arjun agreed and placed his phone on the table. He said, "You are right. We should not wait until tomorrow." I finished the last bite of my breakfast. Then I drank some water from the glass. I said, "We can work together after school." Arjun smiled because he liked the idea. He replied, "That will make the work easier." We started discussing what we needed to prepare. Soon we had made a simple plan. We both felt ready to begin the work. But first we wanted to finish our tea peacefully. The shopkeeper brought another cup of tea for Arjun. He also brought a small cup of tea for me. I looked at the cup and smiled. The tea was hot, and a little steam was rising from it. I carefully picked up the cup with both hands. Then I took a small sip. The tea was warm and refreshing. I said, "This tea tastes really good." Arjun smiled and replied, "This is my favorite tea shop." We sat quietly for a few moments. The peaceful morning made us feel relaxed. Outside, the market was becoming more crowded. More shops were opening one after another. People were walking quickly through the streets. Some people were going to work. Others were buying vegetables and daily supplies. I looked outside and enjoyed watching the busy market. Then I turned towards Arjun and smiled. I said, "I am glad that I came here today." Arjun replied, "I am glad that you came too." We finished our tea and looked at the empty plates. Our breakfast was finally over. I reached into my pocket to take out some money. But Arjun quickly stopped me. He said, "Don't worry. I will pay today." I smiled and replied, "Then I will pay next time." Arjun laughed and said, "That means you have to come again." I stood up and said, "Of course I will come again." After finishing our breakfast, we sat quietly for a few minutes. The morning market was becoming busier. More people were coming to the tea shop. Some customers were ordering tea. Others were buying breakfast to take home. Arjun looked at the crowded shop and smiled. He said, "This place becomes busy very quickly." I looked around and replied, "Yes, many people seem to like this shop." The shopkeeper was moving from one table to another. He was taking orders and serving food. He looked tired, but he was still smiling. I said, "He works very hard every morning." Arjun nodded and said, "That is why people respect him." Just then, the shopkeeper came near our table. He asked, "Did you enjoy your breakfast?" I smiled and replied, "Yes, everything was very delicious." Arjun added, "The tea was excellent too." The shopkeeper thanked us with a happy smile. Then he asked, "Would you like anything else?" I looked at Arjun and shook my head. I said, "No, we have eaten enough." Arjun laughed and said, "I think I ate more than enough." We all laughed at his funny comment. The shopkeeper placed the bill on our table. I picked it up and looked at the total amount. The breakfast was cheaper than I expected. I said, "The food was good and the price is reasonable." Arjun agreed and said we should come here again. We walked out of the tea shop together. The fresh morning air felt pleasant. The market was now full of people. Many shops had opened by that time. We slowly walked along the side of the road. Arjun looked at his phone and checked the time. He suddenly stopped and said, "Oh, it is getting late." I looked at my watch and became surprised. I said, "You are right. We should go home now." Arjun pointed towards a small bookshop. He said, "Can we stop there for a minute?" I looked at the shop and replied, "Of course." Then we walked towards the bookshop together. Our morning was becoming more interesting. The bookshop was small but well organized. Many books were arranged neatly on the shelves. Arjun started looking at the books near the entrance. I walked towards a shelf filled with English storybooks. One book immediately caught my attention. It had a simple cover and an interesting title. I picked it up and started reading the first page. The story was easy to understand. I thought it would be useful for learning English. Arjun came near me and asked, "What are you reading?" I showed him the book and said, "It is an English storybook." He looked at the cover and smiled. Then he said, "It looks interesting." I replied, "I think I will buy it." Arjun looked at another shelf and found a notebook. He picked it up and said, "I need a new notebook too." We carried our books and walked towards the counter. The shopkeeper greeted us politely. He asked, "Would you like to buy these items?" I replied, "Yes, please." He checked the prices and told us the total amount. We paid for our things and thanked him. Then we walked outside with our new books. I felt happy because I had found a useful storybook. Arjun looked at me and said, "You really enjoy reading." I smiled and replied, "Reading helps me learn new words." Arjun nodded and said, "Then I should read more too." We continued walking and talking about books. After leaving the bookshop, we reached the main road. The sun was now shining brightly. The cool morning weather was slowly becoming warm. Arjun looked towards his house and said, "I should go now." I replied, "Yes, I should return home too." We stopped near the corner of the market. Arjun smiled and said, "I enjoyed our morning together." I replied, "Me too. The breakfast was really good." He laughed and said, "And the tea was even better." I smiled and agreed with him. Then Arjun said, "We should visit the tea shop again next week." I replied, "That sounds like a good plan." He waved his hand and started walking towards his house. I watched him for a moment. Then I turned and began walking home. On the way, I thought about the whole morning. I had gone out only for a short walk, but I met my friend and enjoyed a delicious breakfast. We visited a bookshop and bought some useful books. It had become a simple but memorable morning. When I reached home, my mother opened the door. She asked, "Where did you go so early?" I smiled and told her everything. She listened carefully and said, "It sounds like you had a wonderful time." I placed my new storybook on the table. Then I sat down and started reading it. I smiled because the day had started beautifully. It was a perfect morning with breakfast, friendship, and learning.